Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here, everyone. Welcome back for more SPTV. Remember, guys, every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Every day is not a great day for Scientology agent, operative, Sea Org member, Julian Schwarz. If you are a Scientologist or a former Scientologist, a second, third, fourth, fifth generation Scientologist, chances are you know Julian Schwarz. I'm going to start out by giving credit immediately to Chris without a Hellcat. Guys, chalk up another W for the TikTok army. I'm going to call them the TikTok army until I can think of a better name for them. Chris without a Hellcat is one of the guys who's been down there in front of the Scientology Test Center on Hollywood Boulevard. Particularly, Chris has been doing an amazing job going over to L. Ron Hubbard Way and getting Scientologists to actually talk to him, getting Sea Org members to actually talk to him. Last night, that's exactly where he was, on L. Ron Hubbard Way outside of AOLA, the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles, and he caught Scientology operative Julian Schwarz on his live stream. He didn't even know what he got, obviously, because, you know, unless you're in Scientology, you don't know who Julian Schwarz is. The authorities have been looking for this guy. I am not exaggerating. The authorities have been looking for him and have been unable to find him. I'm going to show you the clip of Chris's live stream where Julian accidentally appears on camera before jumping out of the way. Julian Schwarz is the person primarily involved in silencing Danny Masterson's victims and covering up Danny Masterson's crimes and threatening the victims and their families if they went forward to the police. In fact, when Julian Schwarz found out that Jane Doe 1 had in fact filed a police report against Danny Masterson, and not only that, had provided Julian Schwartz's contact info to the LAPD as a contact over at Scientology, he called her and said, "You are so effed." It's too early in the video for me to roll the dice saying the F word. He said, "Did you really give my information to the LAPD?" And she said, "Yeah." He goes, "You are so effed." That is how Scientology treats victims in Scientology, Scientologist victims in Scientology, if they try to involve the authorities. Okay, so this is a photo of Julian Schwarz. I believe it's a driver's license photo. Here we have a photo of Julian in the wild. He's a very unique and odd-looking fellow. He's very tall. He's sort of what you might describe as skinny fat. He's very hard to miss. And even though the footage, well, here, I'll just share it with you guys. And let's go full screen on this. And how about we even, yeah, let's do it just like that. Watch this, guys.
What should we call it? News. Is anyone going to the org in Santa Ana and OC? I'm gonna have to check it out. We need to get him.
Let's see. Let's go backwards.
In Santa Ana and OC. What should we call it? Excuse
Here we
me,
go.
sir. Quick question, sir. Oh, they could hear me. Excuse
That's Julian Schwarz right there, folks. That is Julian Schwarz.
me, sir. Quick question, guys. Quick question. Oh, they could hear me. Excuse me, sir. Quick question, guys. Quick.
We're going to slow it down just for fun. Let's go half speed.
Question. Excuse me, sir. Quick question, guys. Oh, they could hear me. Excuse me, sir. Quick question, guys.
And just because we really are having fun, let's go 1/4 speed.
Quick, sir. Quick question. Excuse me. They could hear me. Excuse me, sir. Quick question, guys.
Oh, Lord Almighty. Okay, so Julian, it's not just, you might go, is that a stretch? Like, can you really tell that that's who that is? Yes, you can. The other reason it's not a stretch is the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles is the organization Julian Schwarz works at. His post is Chief Public MAA. That's Chief Public Master at Arms. Master at Arms in Scientology is what they call an ethics officer. If in a normal Scientology organization where the staff members are not members of the Sea organization, that post is called the ethics officer. In a Sea Org organization, that same post is called an MAA or a Master at Arms. L. Ron Hubbard loved stealing the Navy terminology. Julian is the chief public MAA. There's certain MAAs or ethics officers that work with public, who are the paying Scientologists. And there are different ethics officers or MAAs that work with staff members. So somebody could be the chief staff MAA. Julian is the chief public MAA. When I was in this organization in Los Angeles, I worked at the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles. I worked there with Julian Schwarz. I know exactly what he looks like. I know that that's the building he works in. Now, the authorities have even conducted surveillance on L. Ron Hubbard Way, trying to find Julian Schwarz. And one of the reasons they have not been able to find him is because that building, AOLA, has a tunnel. There's a staff only stairwell. Okay, there's a stairwell, but only staff members are allowed to go down to the basement level. Down in the basement level, there is a connection underneath L. Ron Hubbard Way, under the ground, a tunnel. It's not like a cartel tunnel. I mean, it's a fully renovated function, like the entire sub basement level underneath L. Ron Hubbard Way. Fully renovated office spaces. It's actually where they keep the central files for the organizations on both sides of L. Ron Hubbard Way. On this side, you have the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles. That's where they deliver the OT levels. On the other side of L. Ron Hubbard Way, you have what they call ASHO, or the American St. Hill Organization. And it's the one that has that disgustingly hideous metal sculpture of a lion out front. And then next to ASHO, you have what they call main building. Main building is the V-shaped building with all the, like 7 levels of bedrooms and the big Scientology sign on the top of it. But remember, this whole complex used to be a hospital complex before Scientology bought it back in the 60s or the 70s. I can never keep my dates straight. And the buildings on both sides of the street were both part of the same hospital complex. So that's why they connect under the ground. And public are not allowed through that tunnel. Only staff members are allowed through that tunnel. And there are SEER members who actually work down in that tunnel. Like I said, it's a fully finished, fully renovated, air-conditioned, linoleum floors, administrative offices down there. It's not even an unpleasant place to work. I've spent many, many hours down there. But because Julian works at AOLA and he lives in main building, Julian can wake up in the morning, go downstairs to the cafeteria on the first floor of main building, eat his meals, walk under the tunnel, under the street to AOLA, come up the stairwell, and his offices are in there. And that's why the authorities can never find this guy. This guy knows more dirt about Scientology covering up crimes of its members, of its public, of its celebrities, crimes against children, crimes against women, crimes against the elderly. He knows about all the credit card fraud, the identity theft. There was a period of years where the organizations on L. Ron Hubbard Way engaged in no less than, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of millions of dollars of credit card fraud and identity theft. It's how they made their financial fundraising targets and their sales quotas. The unbelievable demand that was being pushed down the lines from the top, from David Miscavige, was so insane that these guys resorted to actual federal crimes. Actual federal crimes. I believe the type of crimes that they've resorted to, the level of identity fraud and credit card theft and wire fraud and bank fraud and loan fraud and all this stuff is so egregious. I do believe that it will be one of the major things that eventually leads to Scientology's tax exemption being revoked. I believe they will be prosecuted for it. I believe it will be federal charges. I believe it will be RICO charges. This is the kind of stuff that does not require a court to determine whether there are religious protections involved. Hundreds of millions of dollars of wire fraud and bank fraud and loan fraud and identity theft. It does not matter if you have religious recognition from the IRS or tax exemption from the IRS, religious protection in the courts. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Julian knows all about that stuff. There was an incident at a Scientology private school. This was actually a Scientology-run private daycare, Scientologist-run private daycare that has received a lot of coverage in the Scientology blogs and on some Scientology channels. This was a number of years ago. But Julian Schwarz it wasn't so long ago that Julian Schwarz was not still on post as the chief public MAA for AOLA. A Scientologist confessed that her son had been abusing the kids at her daycare center. So it was a Scientologist running the daycare center. Her son was a Scientologist. And the kids at the daycare were Scientologist kids of Scientologists. She was at AOLA getting onto her upper advanced OT levels. And as a part of her clearances, she divulged this fact. And all the parents of the kids were rounded up. The parents of the kids were rounded up. And everyone was told that for once, they were actually going to report this to the authorities, but only because they wanted to get it reported to the authorities while the kid was still 17. He had not yet turned 18. They wanted this to be reported to the authorities so that it couldn't be brought up later. So that they were doing, it was like the lesser evil. They're like, if we report it to the authorities now, and all the parents were told not to cooperate with the police, not to allow their kids to testify or be deposed or interviewed. The parents not to cooperate, be testified, deposed, or interviewed. And the kid, so that it would all be sealed up because the kid was a minor. They wanted to get this reported now, get it on the books, so that and he pled to some charge. He pled to some charge, never served any jail time or anything, because he was a minor. This is one of the few instances I've ever become aware of where Scientology intentionally, knowingly took the initiative on involving the authorities. And they did it because they thought it would be the lesser evil, and they would get all the files sealed, and it would prevent any of this from ever becoming known. Well, once, by the way, it was Lisa Marie Presley's goddaughter was one of the children who went to this school. And the fact that she found out that this occurred and was covered up is one of the major reasons, one of many reasons, but one of the major reasons why Lisa Marie Presley decided she was going to go all out to bring down David Miscavige. She never did have the opportunity to do that publicly before she died, but she had been working very diligently behind the scenes for quite a period of time to make that happen. And this is one of the reasons why. It was Julian Schwarz himself who was involved in orchestrating that cover-up, telling the Scientologists what was going to happen, what they were to say and not to say to the police. This is the kind of dirt that Julian has. Julian used to be posted here in Clearwater, Florida, where I live, when he was younger, when he was a teenager. The problem is that Julian has epilepsy. And his father was a very, very senior Scientology executive. And Julian had a seizure at Flag, and anyway, he knocked his teeth out. And Flag said, this guy is a danger to us because if he has some sort of an they were afraid that if Julian died, had a seizure and died, they didn't want that on their hands. But they don't care if he dies in LA. They just don't want him to die in Clearwater. So they shipped him off to LA. And you guys know how Scientology makes, victims feel like they're degraded beings, and they pulled it all in. I don't know exactly what was ever done to Julian, but I can promise you, just knowing how Scientology works, Julian was probably made to feel like there's definitely something deeply wrong with him, that he has epilepsy or that his condition would possibly put Scientology or David Miscavige at risk. So they shipped him off to Los Angeles a long time ago. And he's been there on the same job ever since. For somehow Julian has become one of the most trusted operatives to handle the dirtiest things that come up. David Miscavige trusts Julian Schwarz, which is weird because, I mean, it's not like David Miscavige to have trust in someone who actually has a chronic medical problem. It's weird. I know that sounds weird, but you have to understand the mindset of Scientologists and David Miscavige to truly understand that. Julian Schwarz is probably one of these guys who, and honestly, I'm giving him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here, who he's been born and raised in the Sea organization. I'd almost be shocked if he has a driver's license, because I don't know when he would have ever learned to drive. When would Julian would have ever learned to drive? I have no idea. Where am I going with this? Julian's one of these Sea Org members who's never known anything but the Sea organization. It would be very, very hard for Julian to decide to leave. I'm just sort of pointing that out so people understand, maybe a little bit more about Julian. It does not make me uncomfortable at this point to describe Julian as he's gone full villain at this point. Look, Julian's a victim to the degree that he's a kid who was raised in the Sea Organization, and being raised in the Sea Organization is even a deeper level of hell than just being raised in Scientology. Julian Schwarz has literally never known anything but the Sea Organization. And to that degree, he is a victim. But in his role, he has definitely come full circle and is absolutely a villain. I wouldn't like to see Julian go to prison, only because I would like to see Julian cooperate and help take down the entire nasty organization. But I would like to see the authorities get their hands on him. I would like to see him be pulled in front of a grand jury investigation. There is a grand jury investigation ongoing into obstruction of justice by David Miscavige and the Sea Organization and Danny Masterson. And Julian Schwarz is one of the people who we would expect to be pulled into that grand jury. It's been years since anyone has actually been able to get evidence that Julian Schwarz is in fact still in Los Angeles. He does in fact still work at AOLA. They haven't shipped him off to Africa or New Zealand or all these other, or the ship or Clearwater, all these places where they sometimes send Scientology criminals who they're trying to keep out of the hands of the authorities. So chalk up another win for the TikTok army. Julian Schwarz is at AOLA. Now you might go, Aaron, oh my God, if Scientology realizes you guys know, they'll get rid of him. We're beyond worrying about things like that. We need the world to see. We need the authorities to see. He's right there, guys. Go get him. Go get him. We got him on video. So excellent job, Chris. My connection looks like it's all laggy. It's super weird. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, great job, Chris. Great job, everyone who keeps going out there every day on Hollywood Boulevard and L. Ron Hubbard Way and getting the job done. You guys are doing an absolutely fantastic job. So much more to come today, guys. So many more videos than I can even get to. Serge Del Mar was at the hearing this morning for Leah Remini's the anti-SLAPP motion that Scientology filed in Leah Remini's lawsuit against them. That hearing is over. I'll get on the horn here with Serge and we'll do a live stream with a wrap up of that. All right, guys, stay tuned for much more. Thanks to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,